Welcome back to the Defying the Odds podcast. Today we are grateful to have Jeremy McCulloch on as a guest. We will go through Jeremy's story of growing up in a small town to playing basketball in the NCAA and later in Europe. Join us on this journey as we learn how he defied the odds.
I mean, go ahead if you want to start.
No, it's okay. Well, can we edit all this out?
Sure.
Okay, well, you were all with it. This is so bad.
Whatever, man. It's funny because we know each other, so this is a little bit awkward because it's a podcast. But I know you pretty well. We coached together
Exactly.
at FH Collins High School, and I coached Liam there. And I've known Liam since he was probably maybe 12. 12-ish, something like that. I probably would have helped out coaching you in the beginning when he was young, before he was in high school even.
Yeah, way back.
So this being a little bit awkward is funny because we know each other pretty well. So it's easier if we just have a conversation. But your introduction kind of made me giggle a little bit because you said a little bit how I've been resilient and gone through tough times and stuff like that. And I don't know really how tough my life really has been if you think about things being tough. So that's it's funny to hear that in an introduction. But everyone's journey is relative to what they've been through and what they've done. So what's been tough for me is maybe a joke to somebody else, but it was my own my own journey. And just you've gone through things that have been hard in your life, and Liam, same for you. So it's that just kind of made me giggle a little bit in the introduction because you just in the year that we've gone through and the things that have been happening in the world, you see what things can get bad fast, and this situation maybe isn't as bleak as we thought it was in the beginning, but a year ago everybody was man, half the people we know are gonna die, and so it seemed pretty bleak and it seemed pretty scary, and all the things that you were worried about kind of disappeared a little bit. It was oh man. So
the highlight for me was the lack of toilet paper.
Yeah, all these funny little things, right?
And there was so many things around that somebody's I might die and I might have crap all over me because I have no toilet paper or nothing to use, or they started panicking. They're we're gonna have no paper products at all. What am I gonna use? And they're do I have to use clothes? And there was so many extremes. I read up so much stuff just for entertainment more than anything.
People are well, I'll just use socks, I guess, if it comes down to it.
Exactly. That's literally what somebody put on. Oh, you can get cheap socks at Walmart. Just go and get them while you can.
Yeah.
And so entertaining.
It's funny though because it you create this little bit of panic in a situation like that, and that's not good. But you also get a little bit of sense of community because everybody's fighting the same fight in this thing because it's COVID versus everyone. It's not some people are this, and it's just either it is or it isn't sort of thing. So it's in that sense it's it's good that at least everybody's on the same team, hopefully.
Well, we've talked before, and you started playing basketball in a small place. Mm-hmm. It was BC, and everyone thinks BC's all just giant cities, which is if you live in the Yukon. But
no, I was born in a town called Chemainus, BC, which you guys have probably never heard of. Most people have never heard of. It's a town of back then was maybe 2,500 or 3,000 people or something like that. Just a little mill town along Vancouver Island, along the ocean, and grew up there until high school basically, and then played 1 year of high school basketball there. And then moved to a town called Ladysmith, which was the big town up the road, which maybe you guys have heard of Ladysmith, maybe you haven't. But it's a town of then it was maybe 5,000 people. So, pretty big metropolis. But it was known as a basketball town there. And they had won a BC championship in 1995. So it was pretty big around the area, and people knew what it was, and my dad knew of the school and stuff like that, so they specifically kind of moved to this area so that I could go to that school and have a chance to play basketball because I was a 6'5", 7th grader.
Yeah, well, I think you told me, did you start dunking grade 7 or grade 8?
Yeah, at the end of 7th grade.
Yeah,
I could dunk, and then in 8th grade I could dunk pretty well. I was thrown down pretty easily. Yeah.
So it's a lot better challenge for you for sure. And Ladysmith at 5,000 probably would have been 1 or 2A.
We were a 2A school.
Yeah.
But we played 2 or 3A. We would go back and forth. If we had a talented team, sometimes we would just play up.
Oh, okay.
And we would challenge and play 3A.
Yeah.
So I played both in high school, and we were good. Like we had a couple years where we like 1 year we challenged in the 3A, and like we went to BC championships and like finished pretty well. And then 1 year we went in AA and we finished second. That was my grade 12 year. It was actually, we were talking about before the podcast, a kid our point guard from high school that had the Taekwondo studio that we grew up and used to play Bond on 64 on the Taekwondo studio wall with like the whole basketball team. But he actually, he got injured in, I believe, the Vancouver Island Championships. He got, I can't remember if someone was going to the lane or he was going to the hole. It was like one or the other, like, but he got kneed in the thigh, like really bad, and got like an extreme Charlie horse to the point of where like he lost mobility in the leg for so long that the muscle started to calcify at the bottom. Like he was losing, so he lost like 30% range of motion for like, I mean, I haven't talked to him in a while, but I don't know if what it's like now if he ever got it back completely, but it like messed his leg up pretty badly, and he didn't really like, he kind of played, but he hopped around. So that was like 18 points a game, like starting point guard, like, you know, playing a couple minutes, like here and there, trying to like hobble around, that we lost. We ended up finishing second, so that was kind of tough, but it was still like a pretty successful year. I was like winning quite a few personal awards and stuff, going through those tournaments and stuff like that, and getting invited to go play, you know, with some junior national team stuff, and go to like the Nike All Canada camps when that was first starting. I think it was like maybe in 97 or 98 was the first year that they did that, and I got invited as like the first group to go out there to Toronto and be a part of that experience, which was like they were kind of modeling around the Nike All America camps down in the US, and you got to go out there, and it was pretty eye-opening. Like the school actually my high school put forward some money to help fly me out there and everything to go to this thing, and you got to be around all these really high level guys that, you know, back then it wasn't like you could watch all these guys on the internet every day and just like know who everybody was, and we're constantly flying around the country to go play against. You just kind of knew who was around you, and you played against the guys in Vancouver and on the island and stuff like that. But, you know, I got to go play against these guys, and they were like high level, like going to major Division I universities, and it was pretty cool to go play against them and kind of see where you fit in. And you got to go to all these classes in between, like you go to an etiquette class and learn how to set the table properly, and what fork means what, and what spoon, like what's a dessert spoon, and all that kind of good stuff, and how to drink politely, and where to put your napkin, and all that fun stuff. And you go to like, actually, like they do a little bit of financial management classes and psychology and all kinds of stuff, and you got to listen to like some players talk. Like Nash was there, and Rowan Barrett 1 year, and then the next year Leo Routens was there, and like they jump into drills, so you get to play with those guys. And I'd met Steve a few times from going up on the island, and him being from Victoria and just being in basketball. So that was pretty cool, and that was some of my high school experience. And you know, we got to win a lot of games, and I got to go and play on some pretty neat teams, and I got to play, you know, with Team BC and stuff like that, and go win. So through all that, it got me recruited to go, you know, kind of have the opportunity to play at a lot of different universities. Really, I started getting letters, I think, in like maybe 9th grade.
9th grade. Okay, I was wondering how the process went. Like, did you have some success in grade 8? You go to Lady Smith. They have a bigger basketball program than somebody there, like probably down in Vic.
No, I don't think anybody knew who I was in Lady Smith. It was like I literally walked into like the guidance counselor's office or whatever. Like my mom just walked me to school one day. Was like, "Hey, we want to enroll my son." And like went in the guidance counselor's office, and I was like 6'8" or whatever at the time. And I like ducked my head and go in the door, and the guidance counselor, you can see him just kind of smile and giggle, and because he's like, "Yeah, that sounds great." And he's like, "Let's just go to the gym for a minute."
Yeah, exactly.
And he's like, introduces me to who the who was like my best friend now. His dad was the junior coach, the JV coach, or whatever you want to call it, at the school. And he's like 6'7", 6'8". So I walk in the door, and he like looks eye to eye, and he's just like, yeah, you can just see him like getting excited. You know, the guidance counselor introduces him, and that's like my introduction to like the school. And like meanwhile his son is playing at Simon Fraser University, like as a 6'7", 6'8" point guard, and this is when Simon Fraser is trying to get into the NCAA. So like he's going and playing against New Mexico and stuff like that, and like he actually, like he retired from his professional career at 41, 42.
Wow.
Had like a, I don't know, 15-year professional career after playing at Simon Fraser.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah.
It's so funny when like big guys walk into the gym. It's like he's so big, and then you're just like, oh god, what's the coordination going to be like? He was probably just like, I hope he's got good coordination. Or like that one that like when they throw the ball and you just like miss it with your hands and like bounce off your chest. And
I could already play at that point, so
yeah, exactly. So
yeah, I was good to go.
So you end up there. Everyone's drooling when you walk in the gym, and then what's the process like? How do you get into the all Nike camps and all these scholarships? You said you were getting scholarships in grade 9.
I think it was just from from playing on some of the summer teams, like going and playing like first, like you go play for your regional team, whatever it is, like in the summer, like, you know, someone's like, hey, you should go try out for this team. So you go and try out for this team, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, you should go try out for the Vancouver Island team, and you go and try out for that, and then like, oh, you should go and try out for Team BC, and you just end up playing for, you know, all these teams. And I think it was just through that really, like, and then going and playing in these tournaments in Seattle and, you know, in Las Vegas and, you know, Vancouver and Toronto and all over, and you just get seen by scouts being at these camps and at these tournaments and stuff like that. So just kind of all through my high school career, it was like, you know, more and more coaches and scouts would see me play, or, you know, hear of me from another guy or get video of me, I guess. And I don't know entirely how, you know, all these schools would have had the opportunity, but I think a lot of it was in Las Vegas too. Like once you make Team BC, and I made Team BC as like a 10th grader or whatever like that. Like I was I would have made U17 underage and U19 underage.
Oh, wow.
So I played up, like I played 2 years of each. Like I played up for each team. So yeah, I got to go to Las Vegas for the U17, and, you know, got to go twice. So I got to be seen a lot down there in places like that. And, you know, so, you know, I got letters from 50 different Division I schools.
50. So everybody who's listening, like, I like a lot of stats and like history for basketball. Steve Nash got 1. So coming out of high school, you were more recruited 50 times more than Steve Nash.
Yeah, which maybe I needed a bigger chip on my shoulder. I was too soft. Because look who's where now. But
Yeah. What?
I mean, yeah, what? Like Steve's great.
Yeah.
That guy's like, it's not because he had success.
Okay, so you get all these offers. We've talked about this before, but you decide to go to.
I decided to go to Eastern Washington University, and it was an interesting process actually, that in itself, because I originally signed with them with a coaching staff, and that coaching staff left to take a different job. They left to go to Loyola Marymount University, like on the beach in Malibu. So I was like, cool. Do you guys still want me? And they're like, yeah, we do. And we're like, sweet. Eastern Washington, how do you feel about releasing me from my letter of intent? And they were like, we don't want to do that.
Okay, so you have to fill it in, because even I don't know about this.
So the NCAA process, like once you have to sign your letter of intent, like so that you're saying you're going to go to the school, and once you sign your letter of intent, they have to release you from it, or you will lose a year of eligibility. So you'll lose a redshirt year, or you'll lose a year of playing, like, right? So you get 1 redshirt year, and then you have 4 years of eligibility in NCAA. Like you don't get 5 years like in Canada, right? So you don't have that 5th year as a practice year if you want to take it as a practice, which I did, which we can talk about later. But so yeah, I would have lost a year of eligibility if I would have just left and broken that. So I was like, kind of like in a standoff, because at the time there was no coach yet, and it was the athletic director, this guy Scott Barnes, who, nice man and everything, and he was just trying to do what he thought was best for his athletic program and keep a player. So I was like, well, I want to go to Malibu, go to Loyola Marymount, and go live on the beach and surf and do whatever people do down there. I don't know. But it sounded great, so I was like, still talking to those coaches, and I was like, yeah, they're not going to release me. I don't know. Like, I don't know if I'm willing to give up that year of eligibility. And, you know, Scott Barnes calls me. He's like, we're about to hire a coach. Just hold tight. And so they hire this coach, Ray Giacoletti, from North Dakota State University. And so he gets on a plane and flies up to Vancouver Island and comes to Ladysmith and has dinner with my family.
Wow.
Like, stays the night in Ladysmith, like, go shoot around the gym or whatever, like, shoot around my backyard, just, like, hang out, meets the family. And then the next day, we all go to Victoria and I play in some Vancouver Island All-Star game, and he watches me play in some All-Star game, and like basically convinces me that he wants me to be a part of the program and stay there, and they're not going to release me essentially. So I'm just like, well, decide I don't want to lose a year of eligibility, and like he seems like, you know, they're willing to come up here and like meet my family and do all this stuff, and I don't know how this process works. This seems like a huge deal, like because I've never been through this, and like my high school coach was like, he was a basketball player, like he played at UVic and like was a, you know, national defensive player of the year, won 2 national championships, was like a big time Canadian player, but still didn't know this process really, like, so he's giving me the best advice he can, but I'm just like, this seems pretty great, like, and I already gone on my recruiting trips and done all that and stuff already, so I'm just like, whatever, I don't want it. Like, this guy seems legit. I don't want to switch everything. Screw it, let's do it. Like, I'm gonna go to Eastern Washington University. So I stuck with my original letter of intent and decided to go there and play for this new coach.
So in today's game, I've really noticed that like players will manipulate things so much to try to get what they want. So did you know that he was coming to Ladysmith to actually evaluate you and see if he wanted you in the program or not? Or do you think he was just kind of in there trying to meet you as a friend? Because like when he sees you and he sees you play well, then he's like, oh, definitely we're not releasing this guy. But if you had tanked it.
I don't remember actually performing all that great. Like, I don't remember having a ton of points in that All-Star game or anything. Like, but like, I think my resume was already good enough, and I was highly recruited enough that they wanted to keep me there. Like, it was basically like in that recruiting class, there was 3 of us that year. There was myself, Alvin Snow, and this guy Eddie Griffin. Alvin Snow was from Rainier Beach. No, he played at Franklin, not Rainier Beach. He played at Franklin in Seattle, and Eddie Lincoln played at O'Day, a private school in Seattle. So like, and Alvin was a pretty high level recruit. Like, he grew up playing with Will Conroy and Crawford and Brandon Roy and all that group of players, like, who were legit NBA superstars. Like Brandon Roy's MVP, you know, like legit NBA players. And he was like right there with those guys, even coming out of high school, and had bad grades.
Oh, so that's why you go to Eastern Washington.
So he came to Eastern Washington and became an All-American and was like legit, like a little bit undersized maybe to play, but like was an All-American and always performed like as an All-American at like we played like Tony Allen. Played against Tony Allen later in our college career, which we can talk about that game later. But he like went head to head with, you know, an all world defender. So he's legit. And this other guy Eddie Lincoln and myself and Alvin and I were like 2 like kind of blue chip recruits of that class. And then Eddie was right there too. But like I think they were willing to let Eddie maybe go, but they weren't willing to let Alvin and I go. So they're really trying to keep Alvin and I. And that was just kind of what they wanted. Like, and they told Jack Leddy that, I think, coming in, that they wanted to keep these 2 players.
So I'm really curious. Did you go mainly to Eastern Washington for the coach? Is that what sold you on Eastern Washington? Because if you got 50 letters,
it was. I liked my visit there. There was another guy at Eastern Washington named Aaron Olson from Victoria who played on the national team. Really good player, really good guy. That like I got to meet and know when I was down there, and like just like another local guy, like made sense for me, and it was closer to home than a lot of the other schools that recruited me. Like, you know, like I could have went to Pittsburgh, I could have went to Dartmouth, like I could have went to a lot of schools like way on the East Coast. And like that's a long way away for me to go from my family. Like I wasn't ready to go that far away. Like I also got recruited by Gonzaga, but it just like for fit and for everything, and just with the like the amount that they were recruiting me, and like just for whatever reason, I don't remember exactly everything. I just wanted to be a little bit closer to home. I wasn't ready to go that far away. We didn't really talk about this either, but it's part of the reason why I didn't play hockey in high school when I was, when I was listed in the WHL and got traded to Swift Current, and they wanted me to move to Saskatchewan and go play like major midget hockey out there, and I was just like, man, that's too far away. I don't want to go to Saskatchewan and just go play hockey. And Like, I still want to play basketball. And so, yeah. And the same thing with that. Like, I was just like, man, I don't know if I want to go to, like, you know, go to St. Joe's. St. Joe's was another school that, like, highly recruited me. And, like, I talked to their coaches a lot.
Oh, and that would have been a good team back then. Delonte West and Jameer Nelson.
Marvin O'Connor was actually the number one guy, because the year before the year before my freshman year, they beat Stanford in the NCAA tournament and had that big run where Marvin O'Connor scored like 40 points against Stanford or whatever. That's right. And so we played them my freshman year. Yeah. We played against them, and they were ranked like high.
Well,
they were top 10 for sure.
Probably, yeah, they were.
But like maybe top 5, because they had Jameer Nelson, Marvin O'Connor, and Delonte West, and Delonte West was their 6th man. Delonte West wasn't even like on the NBA rate. Well, I mean, he may have been, but he wasn't like as well known as he was yet.
So this was your second
year? Jameer Nelson and Marvin O'Connor. This was my first year.
Your first year, yeah. So they would have been freshmen.
Yeah.
Too, they
so like I remember before the game, like sitting down and talking to the assistant coach that like I had like, you know, had been talking to for months on the phone, like, and was like, you know, just like, you know, blah, because they thought they were gonna smash us. Like, they had a squad. We had been preparing for 3 months for this squad. Like, we had like, as soon as we were allowed to practice, it was like, this is what Bill Phillips does. This is what Marvin O'Connor does. This is what Jameer Nelson does. This is what Delonte West does. We knew everything about all of them. We knew all their sets. We knew all their tendencies. Like, and we smashed them. We beat them by like 16.
Wow.
Like, yeah, and this was like, da-na-na, da-na-na, all over Sports Center. Like, yeah, we beat them, and then like after the game, the coach didn't have anything to say to me. And like we kind of like we screwed up their season a little bit, and like there was a little roller coaster for them in the beginning. I think they ended up like coming around and having a pretty good year, but that was a big exciting start of college basketball.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So that was like my.
And did you play him at home or did you play him in St. Joe's?
I think it wasn't at St. Joe's. I think it was in a tournament, so it was like neutral site somewhere. Okay. I don't remember. We played all over.
Because like going from, I guess when you played Team BC, you played nationals. There's some crowds, but like Ladysmith, what was your fans be? And then.
Oh, Ladysmith would have been like, I don't know, 100 people if you're really lucky.
Exactly, and then you're going to like maybe nationals, but even then there's not that many fans at nationals. In like with Team BC and stuff in Canada?
No, yeah, then it would have been like, I mean, provincials and stuff, like in high school, like going to BC's would have been like, you know,
a couple thousand
people.
Exactly, but then going to like 20,000 in university?
Well, like our school was probably averaged like 3,500 and held like 5. So like we would sell out like for like when we play Gonzaga at home, it would sell out, and then we go to Gonzaga, and then eventually it became too big. Like they would bring bleachers in for a while to like for our games, so then we could hold like 6,500 or whatever, and they started keeping them in there. So we would like sell out pretty regularly.
Did Gonzaga have the same place they do now?
No, ring? This was the old Gonzaga gym, so it was like the same. So it was like 6,500 they could hold, so or maybe a little bit more than that, maybe like 8,500, but it wasn't that big. So we would actually they ended up moving the game to Spokane Arena so we could play in front of like 16,000 or whatever. Yeah. Because that was like our biggest crosstown like rival, even though we weren't in the same conference. Like we'd play every year, and it'd be a good game.
Yeah, I can only imagine. So that must have been quite the experience going with all those extra fans.
Yeah, it was. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I can only imagine. So going back, you're talking about getting in your first year, having that incredible game to start your career basically in university.
Yeah, well, that was actually, I didn't even play in that game. I was just there. They brought me along for the trip. Like,
well, you were the hype man. You were just like waving the towel, rolling hard.
I was wearing a tie probably, or maybe a tracksuit. I don't remember.
Oh, that's because didn't you redshirt your first year?
Yeah, like I got down there and I was like physically overwhelmed. Like I was pretty dominant in high school. Like I didn't have I don't know, I guess my numbers might sound prolific, but I probably could have scored a lot more than I did. Like I've never been a prolific scorer. I don't know. That's just never been the way that I played. But like I think I averaged like 26 or 27 a game in high school, and like 17 rebounds, like, and then like 7, 7, and 7, like a whole bunch of blocks, a whole bunch of assists and steals and everything else. Like pretty like a lot of those other stats too, because I used to just like fly around, and I was like long and thin and pretty athletic. So like I scored in a lot of different ways, but then going into university, and especially going to the NCAA, where things are a little bit more structured, and especially where the coaching staff that we had run a very structured system where we ran a lot of sets, or we played within a system that was very structured. I played a specific role that was very physical, and I was not physically equipped to play that role when I first got there. I was just overwhelmed by it. And like the guys that I was playing against, this guy Chris White was the center when I first got there, and he was 6'9", 250 or whatever, and just like super strong, super athletic, and I was 6'10", 6'11" or whatever, still growing probably when I first got there, and like 2 and a bit.
Yeah. Exactly. So you're at 50 pounds, and you were just like...
Yeah, I was just getting physically outmatched. And it's just like adjusting to the speed of the game. Like anything else, like the first time you go and play against some college players, or the first time you go and play, against high school players when you're, when you're a junior and you move up, and it's just like, man, this is fast. But after a couple of weeks, it doesn't seem fast anymore. And then you're like, hey, this isn't fast anymore. I can slow down, and I can think about this, and I can adjust. And like, then you can start to figure out ways to get around, like, those little things that you don't have. Like, okay, I can't touch my head on the rim like this guy can, so I got to figure out a way to still play with this guy. So you start to learn how to use your footwork and other things, and be in the right positions at the right time to make sure you can compete with these guys that have skills that you don't have.
That's like my favorite thing about sports is like the problem solving aspect.
Yeah.
It's like you can't do something that they can. How are you going to figure it out?
Yeah.
And that's like, it's the one thing I notice with athletes that are successful versus not successful. I don't even say athletes, like people in general in life. People that are like so resilient and able to problem solve like that. It's just incredible.
And like, yeah. So like when I first got to university, I wasn't that good really, like, but I had a lot of potential because I was, 6'11" and athletic, and I could shoot, and I could handle the ball, and I could post up, and I could do a lot of things. And so when I got there, I just was physically overwhelmed and decided like that taking a year to lift some weights, catch up to the speed of the game, made the most sense for me. And also considering like I'm a big guy. A lot of big guys develop later, and it takes them a little bit longer to develop their bodies and develop their game and really figure out how to maneuver and how to play basketball. And so like thinking of guys that came before me, and my coach, Ray Giacoletti, actually was at the University of Washington as an assistant when Todd McCulloch was there. It was no relation, but another Canadian big man. And so he knew about like, big guys in their development a little bit because he was like Todd's guy there. And so he came up with him and like helped him develop. So he was like he didn't tell me to take a redshirt year. He basically told me, he's like, okay, here's the depth chart. We have like 4 big guys. If you play this year, you'll probably be 3rd in the depth chart. And I was like, well, that's not bad. Freshman, like I'm not last. That's cool. Like, so I was like, oh, maybe I should play, So it actually was like this thing where I was like, man, like maybe I should play. And then but he's like, but I do see a lot of benefit in you taking a redshirt year. And he's like, we'll support you in that. And like, that does hurt our depth chart, not having you play. He's like, but like if that means that you can be a number 1 or number 2 guy the next year, then that's great for us. And that means, we'll be better in the future. So I thought about it and I decided like this was the best thing for me. So I took that redshirt year, which was good for me because I did get to play a ton in practice, and I got to play a ton after practice, and I got to work out a ton, and I got to work out extra because it didn't matter what was going on game day because I could just train more and I could get that extra, those extra shots up or whatever before a game with an assistant coach, or go run those extra stairs or go hit the weights or whatever. And so, I did put on probably 20 pounds plus over that year, and I got to play on like the scout team a lot of times in practice. Yeah. So I'd be like, literally get to play I get to play shooting guard sometimes, and like, so like I would get to like, they'd be like, hey, this is their last second, one of their last second sets that they like to run. I'd be like, yeah, we're running this triple flare screen for me, like, so I'm like coming off this like down screen on this side, I'm coming off triples on the other, and I'm running out and I'm shooting threes and I'm making them against like the starters, and like, and I'm like, they're losing their minds and stuff, but I'm like loving it because I have like zero responsibility. I just get to be free and I get to play.
Yeah.
And so it was like I really like actually enjoyed my redshirt year, and I got to get a lot better. And like it sucks sitting on the sideline during games because like if you're a competitor, like that's tough to watch. But like I think it was good for me for sure, and it was fun.
Scout teams are so fun because you have no responsibility. You're supposed to not be successful.
You're over there with like one of the assistants who like has really scouted the other team, so they know all their sets, and then like a couple graduate assistants, and they're just like a bunch of hype men. They're getting you fired up to go beat the starters, and because they want you to try to beat them, so the starters really have to be prepared, right? They don't want you to go out there and just like half-ass a set and kind of throw up some bad shot and whatever. Like they want you to be good, so they're getting you fired up and they're teaching you the set, and so you're fired up to try to beat them. And you're playing to 5 or something like that in a 2-minute game or whatever, and so you're just going at them. It was great.
Yeah, no, it's like I loved being that, or like being the team that was like not the starters, and you like because you have nothing to lose, you just go out and just compete. And
it was cool too because like after that, it gave them the confidence to put me in some situations that they may not have, like,
Whoa! Are you telling me they ran a triple screen pin down flare in the games?
No. But I would I'd legit go in and just play the 3.
Yeah.
They would throw me in as a wing player.
Yeah.
So I would get to go in and like I would just run wing sets and just get to play the 3 and like penetrate and guard a 3 and just play.
So you were like Larry Bird type going there. You got some 6'10", 6'11", 3.
I don't know if I can.
I'm trying to think of somebody else there that would have been a predecessor.
The guys who I used to like obviously guys like Kevin Garnett and Sean Kemp were guys that I like watched growing up and like tried to like play like, but unfortunate. Well, I was actually pretty athletic, so I could do a lot of things that they could not quite.
I was gonna say, are you Sean Kemp athletic? Because I didn't know you back in younger days, but he was a freak.
Not quite, no. But like I could, before a few injuries, like when I was my first couple of years in university, like I was pretty athletic. Like I could take like just go vertical below below the rim and put like my hand above the square pretty easily, like stuff like that. Like I was fairly athletic. I could pretty much dunk from the free throw line.
Yeah. Sorry, so you had the incredible scout team run, highlight of your career.
Yeah.
So far,
potentially my best college numbers were on the scout team, if I'm honest. I had a few good games, but my numbers in college weren't great. But scout team were good. Yeah. So after that, my first couple of years, as a freshman, I actually had a pretty significant bench role, and because of that scout team role and the coaches getting to see me play in a lot of different ways, I got to play some different roles actually in games. So yeah, like getting to play a little bit of the 3 and getting to play a little bit of different areas. But I got some minutes and they were willing to throw me in at different times, and I was like, I don't know how many points or anything in a game I was averaging, but I was like getting the opportunity to score, and I was feeling good, and I was athletic, and like I felt really good in those games, and they were getting more and more confident in me. And I still had to fight for minutes. Like there were still days where like I didn't play or didn't play much in a tight game or whatever and things like that. And it's just like the way it goes for freshmen sometimes. But like through that year, like I still had a pretty big fire burning inside of me to get better and to want to play more. And I started to not believe the hype, but believe what, like, because coming from a small town, I didn't really I followed Sean Kemp and I followed Kevin Garnett and these guys, and I want to go to the NBA, but I didn't really know what that meant, and I didn't really know that was actually something that was a reality for me. Mm. Like, just because I wasn't around anybody who ever did it, right? I didn't know what that actually meant, and like, these guys were telling me that it was, but I didn't really start to believe it until maybe halfway through that first year, where I was like, hey man, like yeah, I'm not getting that many minutes, but when we go shoot, when we go do all this other stuff, when we play one-on-one, like, I think I'm better than these guys already. And I think I'm better than these guys by quite a bit, actually. And I started to figure that out, and I started to figure out, okay, now I just need to work on the physical things and work on the other things, like, and just get better at all this stuff. And so I just started putting the time in the gym and like being willing to like go to all those extra shoot around sessions and like live in the weight room, and like I was the most improved in the weight room like that year. And like I don't even know what that means because I wasn't that strong, but it just means I went from not being very strong to being a little bit stronger.
From super skinny just to skinny.
But I worked really hard and I put on some weight and I moved. Like we used to like, it used to be platforms in the weight room, and it was like the weakest guys were over here and you made your way to the heaviest platform. And I went like to like a couple like bounces, like getting onto the heaviest platform with the strongest guys. And like that was like a big deal for me because I was like busting my ass like year round to get stronger and like in the gym and stuff. So I like they recognized it. And so my minutes were increasing going into that second year, and it was like my sophomore year was going to be a big year. So going into that year, like I trained a ton in the summer and stayed there. Like I didn't even I went home for a few weeks, but then I went back to Washington and like was there with a couple of my roommates and like playing basketball all the time and training, you know, getting ready for the next season. And we go into the next year and I'm playing more minutes and things are really good. And like now, you know, occasional scouts are coming to practice, and you know, the like NBA scouts.
They're allowed to come to practice?
Occasionally, yeah. I don't know how it works, but like, you know, so, yeah, these guys, I don't remember if it was like an official practice or a workout or what it was, but anyways, this guy comes, and like, I just figure he's there for other people, honestly, whatever, but he ends up like talking to me specifically, like in front of the whole team, and like talking to some of the other guys too, but like talking to me, and it was like another one of those moments where I was like, oh, like this is a thing. Like I gotta keep pushing here. Like I gotta keep chasing this, and it kept me like motivated, and it kept me excited. And so, like I kept training really hard and kept trying to get better, and you know, was just loving being there, loving being like in the American basketball experience, and just like loving being with my teammates every day. And like, you know, you go to practice, you go to class, you go back to practice, you go to this, you go to that, you have study table, you're like just with these people all the time, and it becomes a family, and it's pretty great. And so we were pretty good that year, and we ended up playing Idaho State in our conference tournament, and I'm trying to remember like the play itself is very clear, but I'm trying to remember like the game and where we were in Ogden, Utah. The game was at Weber State, where Jermaine Boyette played, and then later Damian Lillard.
Yeah, Damian Lillard is the most.
Damian Lillard, right? So they were in our conference as well. So we were there. They were hosting that year. And we were playing against Idaho State in the semifinal, I believe, of the conference tournament. Anyways, end of a shot clock situation. I catch the ball at the 3-point line, shot fake. Guy goes for it. One dribble past him. Go and I pro hop like past the elbow to kind of get to a little half hook sort of floater, like just above the block sort of thing. And I go and I pro hop and I plant and I land on a guy's foot on my left foot, all my weight like on that plant goes and lands on his foot. And I like heard and felt my ankle just explode. And I looked down and like within seconds it was like I had like an ankle sleeve type ankle brace on, and it just like mushroomed, like it just exploded my ankle. I don't even know where the ball went. Like I feel like I probably just like threw it in the air. Maybe I shot it. I don't know, but I just remember the pain in my ankle and going down and just holding my ankle and not getting up.
Yeah.
And so we go and get x-rays like right there, and they're like, well, it doesn't look broken, but there's a lot of swelling. We can't tell. And so I have to go and get a bunch of MRIs and stuff when we get back, and it's like my ankle's destroyed. I tore up everything on the outside. On the outside of my ankle. So that was kind of the start of, or the end of it all, or the start of it all, or whatever you want to say. But that really changed things for me. Because coming back from that, I didn't do super well with it. It took my livelihood away, really. Like basketball was all I knew. Like, and I played every day. Like played every day from the time I was, in high school till that time, like in the backyard or in the gym or wherever. Like it was just what I did. And then I go through this pretty bad injury of my ankle, and I went to physio and tried to do that stuff for a while, but I just was so bored with it and frustrated with it. I wasn't that good about it. I was not as good as I should have been. And the injury was bad. It was worse than I recognized at the time, or maybe not the worst than I recognized, but like the long-term implications were worse than I realized of not taking care of it as well as I probably should have in the beginning. And maybe not like searching out like further, like surgery or something like further to try to correct it. But anyways, so I didn't come back from it very well, and my career really like slowed down at that point, and I just lost that bounce in my step when I came back. I was a big time 1 foot, left foot jumper. Yeah. Left ankle doesn't work anymore. No more dorsiflexion on that side. I've lost my 1 foot jumping ability, right? So now I'm not flying in on the fast break. I'm not taking one dribble from the free throw line and just trying to take off on anybody that's there, because that's what I could do. Like I could almost dunk from the free throw line. Like all I needed was 1-2 dribbles from half court and try to jump. Yeah. Like no more. Like that doesn't exist.
So did you basically just rehab it? You never got surgery on it?
No surgery. Just like rehabbed it.
And was that your choice, or was that like what the doctors were advising at the time?
This is what they told me to do. Like I didn't know.
Yeah.
Like,
and you're just going with what
I'm a 19-year-old kid. I don't know anything about anatomy at the time, really. Like, and it's part of the reason why I do what I do now.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah. So, anyways, the ankle's pretty messed up, and I did like come back from it eventually, but it took a long time, and through that time, like I didn't deal with the idea of not being able to be the superstar anymore. Like from scouts coming and looking on the internet and seeing my name on draft boards on like, whatever the old hoops websites were, like you would see like
NBA Draft.net or NBA Draft.net.
Yeah, like some of those websites you would see my name like, as a first round pick, like right at like I was honestly at like Ike Diagu. I don't know if you remember Ike Diagu from San Diego State. Like I would honestly see my name around his name a lot.
So you were potentially a lottery pick, because he went 10th overall to Golden State, if I remember correctly, or 11th.
And obviously I wasn't, but after the injury and I didn't really come back right away. The coaches saw when I did come back that I wasn't the same player. Like I just saw the shift. I saw things change, and I saw the scouts stop coming, and I saw the name slowly disappear from the websites and everything. And I was like, oh man, and I didn't really play much for a year. It took basically a year for me to come back. I played a bit. I played in practice some, and came back and started to get myself back, but I got heavily depressed. It was not a good year. I was partying way too much. I just got sad. I just didn't know what to do with myself. I didn't know what to do with my emotions, and I just did a lot of unhealthy things because I didn't have any coping mechanisms besides playing basketball. Basketball was my outlet, and I didn't have it anymore, really. I didn't have I didn't have the same joy from playing because I wasn't as good. And that messed me up.
I've had the opportunity to meet your family and stuff, and they're great family, wonderful. I like your parents a lot. Did you ever go back and stay with your parents, or because you were so far away from them, and that's such a huge support system for you?
Yeah, I would go home and see them in the summers, and I would they would come down and visit it when they could. It was far enough that it was a bit of a trek to get there, but it was close enough that they could drive down a couple of times a year. And come see us play or come hang out or whatever, and I would go home. And I miss them a lot. I can remember being really sad and crying and missing my family at times, and those things when you're alone, and it's and I think that's part of just being alone for the first time for anyone. You're gonna miss your family sometimes if you have a family that you're close with, and even if you don't, there's gonna be people that you miss. But I was definitely a little bit lost. Like I didn't like I had good friends down there. I had close friends and friends that I'll still call good friends, but like they were also 19-year-old kids. Like they're not there to save anybody. They're there to have their own college experience and figure things out. And, you know, so I had to figure it out on my own, and luckily I did. I had a good enough support group, and I have a good family, and I was, you know, intelligent enough to take some time to reflect and be like, man, like this is not going good. I'm going down a bad road here, and this is not the guy I want to be. And like maybe this NBA thing isn't like the same reality that it was, but like was that it? Like what else? Like why? Like that's not the only reason why I was happy. Like well, like I got to be happy again. Like. And so I started thinking about those things, and I started remembering, like, I love being around the team. I love being around the daily training environment. I love being in the weight room. I love being at practice. Like, I love shooting. Like, I love all those things. And, like I need to find a way to make that joyful again. And so, like, I just tried to, like, literally change my perspective about it and, like, figure out, like, okay, like, maybe I can't go to the NBA anymore, but, like, this team has given me an opportunity to come and get an education. Like, I should at least help this team and do what I can to be a good part of this organization or this university, not organization. But, and so I started, like, I got myself back in shape, and I just started training again, and, like, I wasn't as good. And, like, I was pretty bad my junior year. Like, I couldn't play very well. Like, I was, like, just a little bit out of shape and didn't know how to score, like, being unathletic. And I was a decent shooter before, but like then I really had to develop like that mid-range game, and like learn how to score in the post without just jumping over people and being bigger, that kind of stuff. So I just had to change my game, and it came back, and like just getting back around the guys and having that training environment again, and like just being around that like put me back in a better place. And like and then I realized like this is what I love. Like I love the game for these reasons.
Yeah.
I love the game because of like it provides this environment, and also like the opportunity it provides, obviously, but like I love going to the gym and like being with the guys. Like I love going and shooting and like even coaching and with Liam and stuff. And like maybe I had a long day, you know, and now I'm a dad and I got kids and I got a business and all these things going on and hectic. But you walk in the gym and the guys all say hi or whatever, like, and you just like, it's just like, yeah, like everything's good again. And like you have some of those great feelings, and like yeah, like some of my best feelings are in the gym, and not all as a player too, because like, and this is an aside, but like winning the Shaw tournament with you guys, like I'm gonna get a little bit emotional right now even, but like, well, I didn't expect that, but that's a big moment for me. As a coach, as a person, like I didn't get emotional with you guys really because I didn't want to like I didn't want to have a big thing just like all of us where we all just cry and get sad about Shaw after that tournament because it was a celebration. But I went in that locker room and I cried by myself for a while because I knew what it meant. And that guy means a lot to me, and I know what he means to you guys too. So, but that's like, and like even just getting emotional about it right now is like, it speaks to what I'm talking about. Like big moments in basketball and through university and all these things are big moments in my life that mean something to me and that have helped me like become the person that I am. And I didn't realize that in my first few years coming up because everything was like, I want to be a superstar. I want to be in the NBA. I want to be a lottery pick. I want to be a baller. I want to have the cars and the girls, and I want to have the NBA life. And then after the injury and coming back, then I realized that like, sure, that's all great and that would be cool, but that's not why I was having a great time in this pursuit. It's because of those guys, and it's because of sharing moments with guys like you and with guys like you and getting to do those things and getting to be around guys like Shaw, right? Like those are great opportunities, and I had opportunities to grow up and be around guys who are great. And like that was really cool, and basketball provided that for me. And so I realized that, and so I was like, man, I want to be good. And so coming here and just quitting and being like, well, I'm not going to go to the NBA anymore, so F it, would have been like of poor character, and I didn't want to be someone of poor character. And now as a father, like that's one of the biggest things for me. Like I don't care what my kids, like I have 2 sons, and it's like, oh man, I'm gonna have twin towers. They're gonna be in the NBA. They're gonna be the first 7-footers from UConn to go there. No, but like, sure, that'd be great. But I don't care what they do, as long as they're happy and they're of good character, like they're, you know, like they're good guys. That's all. Yeah, like there are certain things that you remember from, you know, from your life, from your experiences, and you know, I had a rocky college experience, and I felt like I was on a trajectory to be quite good, but then, you know, didn't have, you know, the greatest numbers and this and that, and had these injuries and things. But they're like the values that I learned from the guys that I was with and the people that they were, and just getting around to be different types of people too, like from different places, I think is very valuable. And then there were other things that the team implemented that are things that I still think about, and maybe are not necessarily philosophies that I live by, but still things that I make sure are, you know, are present. And they used to have a sign in the locker room at Eastern Washington above the door, and it said, I don't remember the order, but it said like respect, accountability, and loyalty. And it was always like, it just said those three words, and you always thought about your family first, or no, yourself first, your family, and your university. Those were like the three things, and like your institution, it would be. So like whatever you're, and like for me now, it's like, well, I'm a business owner, so like that's my institution, like that I need to protect, and you know, so whenever I think of those three things, it's like, you know, I like to live by those principles still. Like I like to be accountable to, you know, myself first, my family, of course, and my business too. Like those things all mean something to me, right? So there are those little things that you learn throughout your, you know, throughout your life and throughout your basketball career that stay with you. And like, you know, I'm 39. Like that was a long time ago for me. It's 20 years ago, you know, that I was there. And so like, but these things are still the things that I remember and the things that I implement. So I think that's where, like, you know, for me, obviously that was powerful, but sport has power. And like, you know, just getting out and being involved, it doesn't have to be sport. It can be art. It can be anything. Like it just be, but being involved in something that, you know, you have to put effort into and put yourself out there and put yourself forward, you're going to then get something back from and have an emotional experience from. You're going to remember these things, right? And I'm sure, like, you know, I use basketball as my example, but there are other things in my life too that, like, and coaching is a different thing. Like that's something that's very different than playing. Or I had different experiences like that Shaw experience. So yeah, that stuff meant a lot to me. So it motivated me to play again and to get better and really just to play with those guys for those next 2 years that I had left. And so I did. In my junior year, I was bad, but we were good.
Okay.
We were real good.
Yeah, you guys went to the tournament, right?
Yeah. So that year we ended up having an RPI in the top 60, like a lot of the year. So we were like projected to play in the tournament, and like if we would have snuck out maybe like another win or two, we could have potentially gotten an at-large bid, like just on our schedule, on our strength of schedule and our record that year. But we didn't. But we ended up getting to host the conference tournament at Eastern Washington, and that was pretty cool because it was like all the like, I mean, TV cameras and stuff were always there, and it was like a lot of our games were televised on Fox Sports, and you know, like the local news would always be there and stuff, but it was like full on, like a lot of cameras and like a lot more media, and all the teams and stuff were there because it's a play-in, like to get your berth to the NCAA tournament. So we actually got to win it on our home floor, and like, you know, 3,000 people rushed the court, and it's just like everybody's dressed in red, and like the student section is all painted, and so everybody's jumping, and we're all jumping together, and it was that wild, like, college rustic court experience. So that was really cool. And getting to win it at home obviously meant a lot, so that was fun. And that gained us our berth to the NCAA tournament. That was first time in school history, so it was like a big deal. And I think there was like maybe one or two other schools that year who also made it like their inaugural bid to the NCAA tournament. So CBS decided to make like a little like documentary about it, like as part of the tournament. So we had like CBS crews with us, like from the time we basically got like made it to the tournament, and they decided they're gonna do that. to going. So like Selection Sunday and stuff. There's like all the CBS crews, and we're all in the gym like watching Selection Sunday together. We find out like, okay, we get 15 seed, and we're like, oh, not 16, cool. We're hoping for a little bit higher, but like whatever, like just not a 16 is like better than 15 is better than 16.
15s at that point had beaten a 2, but 16s had never beaten a 1, so you guys
so
got a
then
chance.
we're like, okay, who are we gonna get? Boom, Oklahoma State. Like, okay, Oklahoma State's pretty good. They got Joey and Stephen Graham, played for the Raptors. They got John Lucas, played for the Hornet or for the Houston.
Bulls.
He played for the Bulls and the Rockets.
A journeyman around.
Yeah, and they got Tony Allen, who's like, you know, perennial all-defensive team NBA player. And they had this big guy who ended up playing overseas. This guy Ivan McFarland, who like was actually like averaged like 15 and 9 or something like that, and had a pretty big overseas career, but it's just a little undersized to play in the NBA. Yeah. And then they brought this 7'3" South African guy off the bench. But anyways, they were good. They actually had somebody else on the bench too that went to the NBA. But anyways, they were the number 2 seed. So we got matched up against them, and so we spent the next week or whatever preparing for them, and we got to go to St. Louis. St. Louis is where that round of the tournament was held. Like Missouri was there, a bunch of schools were there, Memphis was there, a lot of good players. But like it was our first time going, so like they chartered a jet for us to go out there, and CBS crews are with us everywhere. Like, you know, you're getting like basically like a motorcade, like taking you to the gym and to the hotels and everything. So it was pretty cool. It was a really neat experience, and getting to play in March Madness, like that's a dream. Like if you grow up like watching college basketball. So we got to play. We got to play in St. Louis in the arena there. I don't remember the name of it, but it's like 26,000 people or something like that. Like it's big. Like there's a lot of people in there, and like so we're playing against this Oklahoma State who we've prepared for pretty well, and you know, we're a scrappy team who's like known for being scrappy and play really good defense. Like we held a lot of teams, like I think under like 50 points, but I think our average was like right around 60. Like we were a good defensive team. So we're like a 21 point underdog or something like that. And I remember coming out like, and our guy Alvin Snow matching up with Tony Allen, it basically being like a wash, like them just being like going at each other, and then like it going back and forth actually kind of with everyone else, and we go into halftime tied. So we're all like, oh man, like we're getting excited, and like we're having to fly, because like we can play with these guys like if it's just like put a ball in the hoop, but athletically and physically, like these are NBA guys. Like it's like we're having to play like a little like above our level to keep up with them physically. Not skill-wise, but physically, definitely. Like, these guys are legit. So, second half, like, we kind of lost our momentum a little bit of, like, the first half, and ended up going down by, like, 10 or something like that in the first, like, 5 minutes. And it was a pretty cool experience, though, just getting to play against those guys. And, like, I think I have a picture at my parents' house. I don't know if you guys would have saw it, but there's, like, a picture of me standing at the free throw line, and, like, Tony Allen's on one side of me, and, like, maybe that Ivan McFarland guy's, like, on the other side, and, like, we're lining up for a free throw or whatever. But that game, like, was kind of tough for me, because I used to split time with this, like, we had our starting center, and then me and this other guy, Greg Smith, would, like kind of, we were, like, the two-headed backup at that time. And I wasn't as mobile, so I played more 5 and a little bit of 4, but a lot of center. He ends up having the game of his life in the NCAA tournament, which was awesome. Like, it was really cool, and I'm not being a hater at all, but like I only got to play like 6 minutes or 5 minutes or something, because he had like 16 points and 11 boards or whatever, which was like his, I believe, like highest number in points and rebounds like in the NCAA tournament. Which was great. So we got to play on TV, and he was just like, and he's 6'10", 270, like just a monster, like a big, huge lefty, like physically, like probably should have just been playing in a different conference with bigger guys. But anyways, yeah, so he had a great game, and I didn't get to play that much, but really cool experience. We ended up losing by like 19 or something like that. But getting to share that like with those guys, and like coming back and still deciding to be a part, like I wouldn't have got to, like if I would have just quit and came back to Canada and like taken a year off and tried to go play college somewhere or whatever, and just kind of like bummed around. Like, I wouldn't have got to experience that with those guys that, I came through with, like Alvin Snow and Eddie Lincoln, like those guys that, we got recruited with together. Like, we went through all those battles, and they saw the highs and lows, and like they saw me, like, they knew that opportunity that I had, and they saw how low I got, and they still got, like, we got to share that together. And, like, it's pretty cool.
Did you have a lot of thoughts about coming back after your injury? Like, it was a real on the table for you?
Yeah, I honestly, like, I was thinking about transferring or coming back to Canada, and like at the time there was like a few guys were like coming together, and actually Chad Clifford, who's like a part of Drive Basketball down in Vancouver, and Pasha Baines. I knew Chad a little bit from playing on one of the Team BCs with him, and he had just come back to Canada, and he was like, "Hey man, you want to come back to Canada? Pasha's coming back." Pasha played at Clemson.
Oh, wow.
He's like, Pasha's coming back to Canada, and they like sent me an email one day, and they're like, "Hey man, you want to come back and win a Canadian championship with us?" And I was like, "Oh, well, maybe. Like, it's not going that well for me here right now. Like, maybe I should just."
Where were you guys gonna go?
I know they. I don't remember if it was UBC or Simon Fraser that they played at, but I think it was UBC.
Oh, okay. So you guys, like, all these like 4 or 5 talented players, 3 or 4 talented players come back,
basically just like
go to the coach, and the coach is like, sweet.
Yeah, like, and Pasha did go there and averaged like 30 points a game or whatever in CIS, and Chad was legit too. So like having a big guy would have been, we would have had a real good shot at, like, obviously Carleton's always good and teams are always good, but we would have had a real good shot at winning at least one championship there. Yeah, but I didn't go. Anyways, I decided to stay, and like I was thinking about going to some other schools down south too. Anyways, I stayed, and we got to have that experience, and then I went back for my senior year, and we had a new head coach. Our coach went to Utah that year to go coach Bogut and that down there. And we had a tougher senior year, and so I basically finished university, graduated, and like I was like, hey, I'm done with basketball, and so I took an internship in the school in the town that I went to school in down there, because I've been in my university program, I've been like volunteering and working for the city, like in the rec programs. Yeah. And so I needed to do an internship to finish my degree. So I got an internship at the rec department there, like running a basketball league in the summer, and just like working with those guys in their summer programs and stuff, and did my hours or whatever. And then at the end of it, they were like, "Do you want a full-time job?" And so I was like, yeah, if I'm allowed to stay, like, because I'm Canadian in the U.S., and so got the visa thing figured out or whatever, and I ended up staying there for like a year and a bit, working this job as just like a rec programmer or whatever, because I'm thinking like basketball's done, my body's a joke, like my ankle barely works, like, and I also had hurt my knee, and so I just worked for like a year down there and lived, and it was just like regular life. And then the second time Bush was elected as president, there was a bunch of immigration change, and they cut visas by like 50% or 60% or something like that. So like if you were a doctor or engineer or whatever, like a highly skilled worker, you were good. But if you were a guy running basketball programs for a bunch of kids, you're kind of hooped.
So they revoked your visa?
So like they're like, when I went to renew, they're like, no.
Yeah.
Like, no.
Wow.
So I had to come back to Canada, which I didn't really know what I was going to do. So I just came back to my parents' place to like, figure things out. And I got a job at DHL, just like working in a warehouse, like loading trucks and unloading delivery trucks, just like doing whatever to make a little bit of money while I was hanging out. And I was like at home, and my buddy Tony McCrory, who I talked about a little bit earlier, I think, who won a BC championship at Ladysmith at our high school and ended up playing at Simon Fraser, and then had a long professional career, was like just sitting at home one day. He's like, man, he's like, why don't you play? He's like, why don't you try to play? He's like, just get back in shape, see how it goes. Like, come overseas. And he was living in Germany at the time, playing over there. And I was like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know if I can do it. Like, just don't know if like my body will be able to handle it. I don't know if I can get back in shape again or if I'll be athletic enough, and just kind of making excuses. But he put it in my head. So I was working graveyard shift at DHL, like unloading the last truck coming off of the ferry from Vancouver and like loading the trucks that were going to go out in the morning, like working from 11:30 p.m. till 7:30 a.m. And so every night before I would go to work, I started running. And I would just go on these like, and like nobody's in a small town, so like nobody'd be out. So I'd be running at like 10 o'clock at night or whatever. I'd just go run down the middle of the street basically and just run around town. And I was like, started just like running a little bit faster, feeling a little bit better. And then I started running with a ball. I'm dribbling around town, and then I'm like just running to the hoop, like running to the outdoor court. And now I'm just running and shooting. And now I'm just driving to the community center, going to the gym, and like now it's changing, and I'm just playing more. And I'm slowly getting myself, because like this job sucks. So I'm like, man, I gotta do something else. And I don't have any better ideas. So I got myself back in shape pretty quickly. Took like 4 months or whatever, 6 months, like basically from when I saw him at Christmas time until that summer when he was coming home. And he got home and he was like, you got in shape, hey? And I was like, yeah, I did. And he's like, so I started going with him to the gym every day, and we started training together. And so we're shooting in the mornings, we're going for a lift, we're getting our runs in, and we're driving to Victoria, we're playing against like the college kids, and you know, we're winning against those guys pretty well. And I'm like getting back to just dominating those guys again and feeling pretty good against, you know, college players and stuff. And he's like, man, like just like in my ear, like, you know, like let's do this, like, you know, if you want to do this, like let's put something together. And so finally I'm like kind of like, all right, make the decision, like I want to do it, like I want to play. And so I put together a little basketball resume or whatever. He's already back overseas at this time, and he's in Germany. He's like, man, he's like just come over here, like just come stay with me. And he's like, well, come practice with my team, get you some workouts or whatever, like, you know, you can talk to my agent, and we'll make something happen. We'll see what happens. And worst case scenario, you have a little vacation in Germany and you go home. I was like, all right, cool. So I buy myself a plane ticket, I fly over and like get to his place, and yeah, just like go practice with his team and talk to his agent. And the agent's like, yeah, there's this team over here, they're willing to have you come in and practice with them and have a little workout, and there's this other team over here. So basically I have 3 workouts set up. So I go to this team in a place called Zwickau, which is like in eastern Germany, like along the border of the Czech Republic. And so I go there, like play really well, like making shots, like taking their guys off the dribble, posting them up, just like playing good. Like I'm better than their big guys. Like it's pretty obvious when I'm there. So I have a really good day, leave or whatever. They offer me a contract like right away. They're like, yeah, we want you to come play here. So I was like, whoa, like this is a thing. Like I can do this. Yeah. So I go to the next place and have another workout there. Goes well, same sort of thing. Like, but they don't offer me anything right away. Like just it went well and they're like happy, but I don't know what their money situation is or whatever, right? So it's just like, so I go to the first team in Zwickau and I'm like, yeah, like let's do this. It's like second or third league, so it's not like the best league in Germany and stuff like that. But I'm like, man, I haven't played basketball in a while. Like my confidence isn't the highest. Like I need to just play. And so I'm just like really happy to have the job and super excited to just like, man, I'm gonna play professional basketball. Like I get to be over here and play basketball. So I signed the contract and played for this team. Have a pretty good year. I'm like second team all league or whatever, and like I think I was like the highest rated center or something like that, and like have a pretty good year. Everything goes really well. It's awesome, and like I'm loving basketball again. And then like me and my friend Tony become really close now, because now we go home in the summers and we train together like all the time, and this is really when we become like best friends. It was really cool because now like I'm back in this training environment, and like I found this again, and like we get to go home in the summers and just work out 3 or 4 times a day, and then I get to go back overseas and play in these different places. And so from there, like in Germany, we were pretty good. I think we finished like somewhere in the middle of the pack, and then like it's a relegation league, so like if you finish in the top, like you get the challenge to go up, and if you finish in the bottom, you go down, sort of thing. So like we finished in the middle, and they're like, we don't have the money to go up, we just don't want to go down. So it's like, okay. So like they'll be happy if they win, but like they're not like trying to win the league and move up or anything like that. So like it was always good, and like so I went from there.
So sorry, you guys were doing well, and you were doing well for the team. Would you like? If there's a chance, like, did you ever get benched randomly? Because like we can't win too many games, because we can't move up. We don't have the money.
No, never anything like. Well, maybe they'd just take me out and my minutes were a little less, but I didn't notice. But nothing like. I don't think so. No.
Oh, okay.
No, they're like, and I think it's just like basically you win, like you finish first in the league, and you're just like, nah, we can't afford to move up. And like if you don't have the financial if you don't have the financial requirements, the league's not going to take you anyways. Like you have to show that you have the means to be able to play in this league, and play this many games, and travel, and blah blah blah, and pay your players enough. Like because if you have like you have a $100,000 budget and you're playing against a team with $1 million budget, like you can't afford to pay players enough to compete with the players you can pay over here. Like it's just going to be a drubbing. Like it doesn't make any sense. So you have to have the budget to be able to play in those leagues. So from that year, I was able to have a pretty good year, and then I moved up a league. So then I moved and played in Pro A in Germany. I played in this place just outside of Frankfurt called Langen. I played with a couple of other American guys, and we had another pretty good year up and down. Like I think again we finished somewhere like top, like middle top of the pack sort of thing.
And how many games are you guys playing over there? Like, what's your?
Probably 40.
40 games. Okay.
40 games. Yeah, I would say. Depending on the country, like some more, some less. Like some you're playing like 2 games every week because you're playing like the league plays more. Sometimes you're playing like 3 games a week because you're playing in cups as well and stuff like that.
Okay. And a cup would be like a tournament?
They have like a prolonged tournament. So like they would have like they would just call it like it'd be the name would be different depending on the country, but like a cup tournament essentially. So like in Germany, if you have 5, like say you have 5 professional leagues where really like the top 3 or whatever are professional, and then the bottom couple are just whatever. But all those leagues have an opportunity to play for the cup. So everybody, like a third or fourth league team could potentially get matched against a first league team. They don't generally do that. Like they'll have like the 5th play like maybe a third or something.
Yeah.
But like you'll occasionally see like a third team like beat a second or whatever, like beat a higher ranked team, so like a higher league team, and you try to play for the cup. So you might have like a second league team like go on a big run because they've brought in like players to try to win the cup. And so they'll compete like against first league teams to try to win the cup.
So it's like the Europe's March Madness.
A little bit, but it's like it goes on over like the whole first half of the season or whatever like that. And then the cup season ends, and then it's like then you go into the end of the regular season playoffs, and we didn't do very well in the cup series. I think we won our first game, lost our I think we beat a third league team. And then we ended up playing a first league team. I actually played a pretty good game against them, but ended up losing to them. But anyways, so I finished that season. But again, played pretty well. Not like the best year, like statistically of my career, but decent team with like pretty good players. So after that, I had another great off season, which I just loved, like training every day. Where like me and my buddy Tony would wake up and go to our community center and like get some shots up, or go lift, one or the other, like, or do usually both, but the order we would change sometimes. But and then we would go back to his place and jump in the pool or whatever, because he had an outdoor pool. So we go jump in the pool and like hang out and just relax for a few hours, and then maybe go to the track and, like, or one of the hills and go run some sprints, and then from there like come back to the house and like maybe go down to Victoria and play, or like maybe just go back to the community center of the high school and just play again, and just do that all summer long, basically.
So you were making enough money playing professional to like you didn't have to get another part-time job or anything like that, like you guys were?
Yeah, sometimes I would work in the summers just because 4 months is a long time.
Yeah.
So sometimes, but other times I would just train, and like always just train for 2 months. Like sometimes like work for like go to a couple of basketball camps, or like my buddy Tony's dad, like he had a firewood business, so I used to cut firewood with him, and I would do that maybe like for the first like month or 2 I was home, and like do it as like training in to make money, and like because I get super fit doing that. Yeah,
you'd probably like it's so hard, it's so tough.
Yeah, so like I would work sometimes, but other times I would just train. Yeah. So that was good. So after that I wanted to go somewhere else, and ended up going to Finland. And I played in a town called Nokia, like after like Nokia,
the phone,
and like the tires, Nokian tires, like.
Oh, I hadn't heard of those.
Yeah, so it's like all all this place, Nokia, this little town there. Anyways, so I ended up going there, and I really liked Finland. It's kind of like the Yukon a little bit, like as far as the landscape and like the longitude is fairly similar. Longitude, latitude.
Yeah, let's go with it. I don't know.
I don't know. Anyways, same. It's very much the same. Anyways, a lot of green trees, a lot of snow, a lot of water. So it felt very similar, like landscape wise. I really liked the people. The people were really good to me, and I really enjoyed the sauna culture and stuff like that. So going there that year, like I had a lot of fun, and I had a really good year. I had a coach there that I really got along well with, and he spent a lot of time with me because he moved from Helsinki to this town to just coach for the year. So he was doing nothing but just hanging out and coaching on his own. He didn't have anyone there with him. So we'd go and train together all the time, and like we'd be in the gym, and he was super intense. Like he would just be like screaming at me to go 110%. It's just me and him in this like elementary school gym or something like that, just like going for it. And I'm just dripping sweat. But it was great because he pushed me really hard to play like at that type of intensity. And like then we'd even go lift together afterwards, and like we'd do like some like German high volume training where we're doing like 10 sets of 10 cleans and paired with like some crazy ab exercise or something. Anyways, it was just like he was a wild man, but it was fun. I was like being there with him all the time, and I had a good year. Like, and I got better and better that year. Like that was the year that kind of brought me a little bit back. Like the first year, like it was like me playing myself back in shape, and I was pretty good. But that second year, or that first year in Finland, I was like playing with him and training that much. Like my body came back to the point where I was like, man, okay, like this is starting to feel pretty good again. Like,
or you're kind of getting back to that second year pre-injury.
No, never that. Like I was never anything like.
But like mindset wise.
But like mindset wise, I was starting to like, and so then like. We had a pretty good year, and we ended up like that was a team that wasn't supposed to be that good in Finland, and we ended up going on a pretty good playoff run and going in the semifinals and losing in like the 5th game of like a 5-game series in the semifinals, and I played really well in those playoffs. So then another team in Finland the next year, like that Nokia team wanted me to stay, but they wanted to pay me the same money. So another team came in Finland and was like, well, we'll give you a little bit more. And it was a little bit nicer program. And I was like, no hard feelings, but I'm going to go to this other team.
Absolutely.
So I went to the other team. And that was probably my best year as a pro. I was confident in my abilities at that point again. And in that year, our team was pretty good, and we hovered around the top of the league that whole year. And I think we ended up finishing first in the regular season. And that was like my best year statistically. Like I led the team in points and rebounds, and I was first in like free throw percentage, and I think I was second in 3-point percentage, and
wow.
I led in blocks and just like a bunch of statistical categories. Like I just had that was like my biggest year, and I didn't I only averaged like 16 points a game or something like that, but it still led the team. We had a pretty balanced scoring that year.
Did they have MVP awards and stuff? You must have been in the running there for like individual accolades a lot.
Yeah. I ended up being like a first team all league, and that year, like that regular season was really good. But going into the playoffs, we ended up winning our first playoff series in 2 games. It was a 3-game series. Then in the second round, 5-game series. In the first game, I didn't know it, but I was under the basket and like got a rebound and like pulled it away, and a guy landed on my foot and just like stepped on it, and like felt it a little bit at the time. Was just like fine, kept playing, but he actually broke my foot. Wow. He broke like the big toe metatarsal, like the big bone. I don't know what it's called actually, but the big bone here in my foot. And I played the rest of the playoff series, not knowing, but I was not that good. And I wasn't myself, and I wasn't aware that the injury was bad enough to be affecting me that much. Like I was just like missing shots, and I wasn't good. And like looking back now, like a lot of it had to do with the foot, but so we ended up losing in like the second round of the playoffs, and like which was probably the year I had a good shot at winning like a Finnish championship, like a country league championship. Like I won some regular season championships and some different stuff, but not a Finnish league championship or a German.
That would have been so good because it could have finished off your career.
Yeah. Well, and I didn't finish off my career, but I did end up going back to Finland to finish my career later on.
Oh, good.
So, yeah.
That terrible joke can still apply. Wonderful.
From there, I actually went. I went to go play in Switzerland, like to try to play with my closest friend Tony there, and that was just like ended up being a short stint of just like a month or two, and it didn't end up working out because they didn't ended up having enough money to pay me and their Swiss players, so they ended up deciding to keep the Swiss players because the club didn't want their Swiss players to not play and not get paid. So that made sense. So I ended up leaving there and going, I think, to Romania, and that was another wild experience. Like basketball, like decent level, really big physical game, like really big guys, like a lot of guys way bigger than me. Like I played a lot of like kind of inside outside perimeter type game there. And I only lasted half a season there because it was a wild, crazy, kind of corrupt place. Like some great people there, like really nice people, but also like the business side of things is a little bit sketchy.
Well, there are some times that you wouldn't even get paid.
I didn't get paid there for quite a while, and it was like you're supposed to be a part of like FIBA, right? And if you're a part of FIBA, then you can go through FIBA and like, you know, dispute it and try to get your money and all that kind of stuff. But they have like Romanian FIBA, so it's like their own kind of, and it's really tough there. So I played half a season and like I only got paid for like the first couple months, and then like they didn't pay us like other than in like little chunks here and there. Like I ended up getting like, they didn't pay our rent in our apartment and had to move out of my apartment and move into a hotel that was just, so basically like, yeah, I was like, I gotta go somewhere else. And so by like Christmas time, I was like, man, I gotta get out of here. And so I talked to my agent and went back to Finland, and ended up playing there instead. But yeah, in Romania, like there was some good basketball there and got to play with some pretty high level guys, but it was wild. Like, and with the no pay thing, like you guys got guys not coming to practice, and like just like tension being really high all the time, and it actually ended up causing a few similar like crazy incidents where like at one point our team manager and one of our players got in like a fight in one of the timeouts like a live televised game, which was pretty chaotic. Like the manager's shirt got like, he had like a button up on it, got like ripped down the shirt because like the player like grabbed him. So things can be pretty intense and pretty chaotic in other places in the world, but like everywhere you go, it's still basketball, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So like once you're playing, it's great, and I had a lot of fun and got to meet a lot of cool guys, and I got to go to Romania and play a little bit there, but then went back to Finland when I was like 29, I think at this point. So I was getting a little bit older, and I played one more year there, and it went pretty well. And I just kind of decided like that I had gotten everything I wanted from basketball at that point, and other things were starting to interest me more. And so like kind of after that season, I just decided like that was it. There was no big like hurrah or finale or anything like that. I just decided that I was ready to do something else, and I still like would get contacted and stuff like that especially from teams in Finland actually wanted me to come back and play again and stuff like that. But I just kind of decided that was the end of the road for me, and like I'd learned like a lot of lessons through that and got a lot of experiences and stuff like that, and you know, getting to play professional basketball is a dream. And you know, I don't always like, if you know me, I don't talk about it that much, and it's not because I don't appreciate what it means, because I got to live the dream. Like I got to go play basketball and travel around, and just, you know, that was all I did, and it was a dream, and it was wonderful. But I still like anybody else, I still have a hard time with like not thinking about the what if, and like thinking like I didn't live up to, you know, the potential of what could have been. And I think that's like what you like, I can be okay with that, and that feeling doesn't keep me up at night, but it does come back to you occasionally, and it's because I know like I'm pretty honest with myself, and I'm pretty self-aware, and I also know like I know what I did do, like the work that I did put in, I know the work that I didn't put in, right? Mm-hmm. So like I am where I am today exactly because I should be. because of what I did and because of the choices that I made, and whether because of the things I could control and because of the things I couldn't control. But I am exactly where I'm supposed to be, right? And so when I finished playing basketball, I just felt like I was done, and I was okay with that. And like you mentioned, like a little bit there, like thinking about like what I would tell, like you said you were gonna ask me the question like earlier of what I would tell myself, and this is just coming to me now, but like what I would tell my younger self, or like not like any regrets I would have, but what I would change. I wouldn't change anything, because like I said, like I'm here for a reason. But I do think like if you are excited about something, like go for it. Put everything you have into it, because you're never going to sit around and kick yourself because because you gave everything you had. You're going to sit around and kick yourself because you didn't. And because you didn't try to get there, and because you didn't go there, and because you didn't reach your potential, right? Like that's a big thing, and like I think it's a big thing around the male ego. Is like we all have this idea of what our potential is, but until you actually put in the work, you don't know. And so you can spend your whole life sitting here wondering like, what is my potential, right? And that can torment you, because maybe you don't think you're maybe as good as you are, or maybe you think you deserve more because you are better. But if you haven't like really given all of yourself to those things, then who knows? And if you actually want to find that out, then you have to give everything. Like you have to go after it. You have to give that hard work, that 100%, and be willing to fail, and and be willing to go outside of your comfort zone and all those kinds of things. And it would have been really easy for me in university to have gotten hurt and just come back home to Canada and taken a year off and did whatever, maybe never played basketball again, maybe played again, maybe who knows, right? Like, and I'd still be living and doing whatever, but I would still be thinking about that what if, and that would bother me forever. And not that I woke up every day after that and was like, I'm going 110% today, and I'm in, like, I still had bad days and I had off days like everybody else, but like as long as I kept coming back, it's like meditation or anything else, right? It's like, come back to the good, like come back to your thoughts, come back to breathing, come back to whatever it is, like come back to your principles, right? Like that's the thing, like all those things that I learned in university about, accountability and loyalty and hard work and respect and all that kind of stuff. Like as long as I keep coming back to those things, I'm going to be okay, right?
Okay, we are going to, I love drafts. I love drafting anything, anytime. And Jeremy and I both love basketball, and producer Liam loves basketball. And so we're going to draft our best 3-on-3 team for basketball, but it's 6'3" and under. So it can be of all time, and it's them at their peak. So anybody 6'3" and under at their peak. And we're going to do a serpentine draft. So
how tall is D Rose?
He would be 6'3", so he qualifies.
Oh, that's interesting.
So Jeremy, you actually have the first pick. You're our guest, so we'll give you the first pick. Are you going with Derrick Rose for your first pick?
No, I'm not, because I think it would be sacrilegious to not take Steve Nash as the number one.
Okay, I thought he might slip to me at number 2, but you're.
I'm going Steve Nash because he's a knockdown shooter. He's your setup guy, ball handler, and like I think he could cause some havoc in the 3-on-3 on the defensive side, just getting hands on balls and steals and stuff like that.
On the defensive side?
Yeah, like obviously he's, because you can like in the 3-on-3 you can kind of just keep him on the perimeter, right? Where he doesn't have to come inside of the paint ever, so you can just have him run around trying to knock down passes and just causing all havoc there. So I think and like setup man.
Yeah. No, I agree. He was with my, because I'm the second now, so he was up there with mine. I'm actually not going to take Derrick Rose either. I think Derrick Rose is a little bit overrated for his MVP, or like LeBron should have won it if it weren't for the decision.
I think in a half court game it's different.
Yeah, and like
if we were playing full court, I might take him.
Yeah, his athleticism would be on, but
because like those couple years he was getting down the court in like half a dribble, like he's just covering so much ground.
And that dunk he had on Goran Dragic, that Phoenix one, he just pumped it and he just did it, and he looked like he could have gone a gear higher, and everyone was just in shock, and Dragic was in like shock, and he's like, He had just come to the league. Oh,
Yeah, that was terrifying.
I'm gonna take. I would say the second or probably third best shooting guard of all time.
All time.
Do you know who you're gonna pick? He could have arguably been the MVP in 2011 as well.
Oh, I think I know who you're gonna pick. Yeah.
Dwayne Wade.
I was gonna say that. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, like Kobe's probably the best shooting guard of all time.
But yeah.
Or unless Jordan's a shooting guard, depending where you fall that. But I would say Wade would be after those guys.
But he's 6'3".
He's 6'3". He qualifies. At least I think he does.
I would have thought Wade was too big.
Too tall. 6'4".
I would have thought Wade, like, what about Westbrook? Is Westbrook also?
Ooh, yeah. I guess I hope Dwayne Wade's not 6'4".
I'm gonna check the NBA.com here.
We're checking this. This could derail my draft. He was my go-to if Nash got taken. Oh, this could be rough.
How do I search for a player here?
Come on. Okay, well, he might be 6'4", but his actual height 6'3". Just like Kevin Durant was like listed 6'9" because he wanted to be like a shooting guard, or not a shooting guard. That's what a small forward height was, but he was actually 7'1", or he actually is 7'1". It'll be interesting to see if he comes back because he is like my main lockdown defender and my slasher creator dude. Well, not slasher creator,
He gives
but
me meters, 1.93 meters.
oh, that sounds about right. That's like 6'3". We're gonna roll with that one.
Who are you picking, Liam?
So Liam has back-to-back picks. He's got the end of the first round. He's got the beginning of the second round. So Liam.
For my first pick, I'm going to take Isaiah Thomas.
The Detroit Pistons, Isaiah Thomas.
Yes, the old one. The
Okay.
Detroit Pistons, yeah.
Interesting.
Old Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah,
Okay.
old Isaiah
That's like he's lots of people talk about him as being the best point guard of all time. Him and Chris Paul in the discussion.
Yeah, I'm not buying it with Isaiah.
Neither am I, but I'm saying the discussion's out there. Okay.
And since I get my back-to-back for my second pick, I'm taking the younger Isaiah Thomas.
Wow. Going the all Isaiah Thomas go. Undersized, too.
Yeah.
Taking it.
So you have a 5'10" old Isaiah who was good, and a 5'9" Isaiah named after the original Isaiah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Confusion for the other team.
All right, who's your second pick?
Oh God, I don't know now. That's such a curveball with the two Isaiahs. 6'3" and under. Oh. I know who I'd take if I was taking a 2K team, and I'll bring it up later. But really good player, but I think a terrible team player. The answer will come to you later.
Oh, I think I know.
Yeah, that was kind of a big obvious.
What? Maybe not. I don't know.
Who am I gonna take? 6'3" and under, because I wanted Steve Nash and Dwayne Wade on the back end.
D Wade was a good pick. I just didn't consider him. Russell Westbrook, 6'3" or 6'4".
You can take Russell Westbrook. Your team's gonna lose with Russell Westbrook.
I'm just curious how tall.
He's just gonna scream, yell, drive in, or shoot threes and miss them. And Steve Nash will be like, "Okay, Russ, let's do it." Like, he'll be such a good teammate, and Russ will just like scream at him.
No, I've already got my pick for that role.
Since you took my creator dude of Steve Nash, I'm gonna take Chris Paul. They're gonna match up well.
I wondered if somebody was going to take Paul.
I'm gonna take CP.
I'm coming around on Chris Paul, but I've honestly never been a huge CP fan.
Can you name a better point guard in NBA history?
Steve Nash.
Okay, Steve Nash. Okay, like in there. Who else? Like he's in the top 2 or 3. Isaiah Thomas can be in there. I don't think he is, but he can be in there.
Yeah, I would have to think about it, and like, I mean, like you can almost put LeBron James in that category too. Like,
True. But I'm talking about like.
yeah, as a true
Legit.
point guard. But yeah, yeah, I don't know.
So now you have the end of this round and the beginning of the next round. So you get 2 selections in a row to fill your.
I really don't know what my third pick's gonna be, but I'm gonna go into wild card here. I'm gonna take Baron Davis.
Ooh.
BD in his prime, because we got post game for days. We're gonna put you guys mouse in the house. Isaiah Thomas does not want to get posted up by that drop step 2-hand power dunk of Baron Davis.
So are we talking?
We're talking
New
prime,
Orleans,
prime Baron Davis.
or are we talking the Dream? Is it called? They called him Dream Team in 2006 when he was like a little bit heavier, but playing, and he had that huge dunk on 2006 in Golden State when he was dunked on Andre Kirilenko, or 2007.
Either one, really. I don't care. He's dominating those guys down low, regardless. Yeah, I'm taking BD. Yeah.
Okay, so you have Steve Nash and Baron Davis.
Yeah.
And who's going to round out your squad? Because I have a rebuttal, I think, that's going to be interesting for you.
Yeah. Derrick Rose is good, but I don't know. I don't know how he fits there. You know what? I think I'm gonna go Gilbert Arenas.
Ooh.
I think
Agent Zero
think
before
I'm
the
gonna
gun.
I think I'm gonna go Agent Zero in his prime when he was like scoring 50 a game.
He was good. Like he was top 10 in the NBA for a couple of years before he decided to bring guns into the locker room.
Yeah, I mean he's obviously, but if we're just taking him in his prime, I think I think I'm gonna go Gilbert.
Yeah. Oh, and actually he did get injured too when he signed that max contract. That's a good pick. I never thought about that at all.
Yeah.
So, well, I'll share it now like that. Like Allen Iverson was a good player and stuff like that, but I think he's such a team killer. Yeah. I don't think you're gonna want to play with him. So that was my clue before with the answer.
Yeah, I don't know how again, obviously you're gonna score with AI, but I think he's gonna struggle on D because he's like under 6 foot.
Yeah, he's 5'10" at best.
And I think in the half court, you can throw somebody big on him. I don't know, but yeah. Anyways.
Yeah. For my third pick, I'm gonna kind of go with a role player to match up with you now.
Please.
Because you got Steve Nash, Chris Paul. Okay, we're going good. I think Dwayne Wade could do a decent job.
Dwayne Wade like that
in the post.
Yeah.
Guarding Baron Davis. I think he can at least
they can play together in the post.
In the post, and I think Dwayne Wade's got the edge there. And then your third pick. Who's your third pick now? I'm losing my mind because I'm. Gilbert, yeah. So I am going to beat the living crap out of him. I'm taking prime Andre Miller.
Prime on, huh?
Okay, maybe a little bit.
Good matchup.
Maybe a little bit old, but Andre Miller's he can't shoot threes, but he'll facilitate and he'll post up like crazy.
Yeah, but Gilbert's not small. Gilbert's big. He's strong.
Actually, yeah.
He's not getting tossed around. He's not a little skinny guard. He's a big guard.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with Andre Miller then. So this will be an interesting 3-on-3 game if it ever could.
Oh, I just thought of somebody else too that might have been good.
Okay, well Liam's got the final pick.
Can I pick an alternate?
Sure. What's your alternate? What's your?
Chauncey Billups.
So he's my backup for Andre Miller because he's kind of big too, but he doesn't score as well in the post. He's just
But he scores better in general. Big shot, man. That's big shot. That's your last second shot guy.
And back in 2005, 2006, he was in Denver, and Suns were running with Marion and Stoudemire, and they made a switch. Marion's 6'7", 230, 240, he's a bigger boy. And Chauncey Billups, I still remember it, locked him on his leg, he started fronting him in the post. He locked him on his leg, and he took his legs away, and Marion couldn't jump. And they threw a lob pass, and Billups literally just held his leg on the ground and reached for the ball. And he's just so strong.
Yeah.
Those Pistons guys, they had Rasheed wasn't strong, but Ben Wallace and Chauncey Billups, those are some big, strong dudes.
Rasheed had that edge though.
Yeah, and he was the crazy wild card. You never knew it was coming.
Yeah. All right, Liam.
Your third and final pick.
I think you guys have been thinking about this all wrong.
All wrong.
All right.
Okay.
My final pick.
Is there another Isaiah Thomas we don't know about?
I searched and searched. I could not find a third Isaiah Thomas. But my third pick is Steve Kerr. Amazing shooter and an amazing coach. So he's going to be coaching the team while playing.
Okay. Interesting.
So you get the best 3-point shooter percentage-wise of all time, and a pretty darn good coach these days. Probably, I would say, a top 5 coach in the NBA right now.
And confusion with the 2 Isaiahs.
And the 2 Isaiahs, because if they sell, I got Isaiah, they don't know who they're going to.
You guys are definitely getting beat up inside. It's real small.
Baron Davis is going to
Isaiah is going to lose it not having Lambeer and those guys to be his thug behind him when he goes and picks on somebody.
Yeah, you're right. They have no tough guys. Isaiah's the tough guy. Because the new Isaiah is not super tough. And Steve Kerr is even though he tried to get in a fight with Jordan, but...
Well, just because he had to, probably. But
yeah.
You get pushed enough, you got to stand up for yourself at some point.
True. Yeah. All right. So you have our teams. They are going to be on our Twitter account.
Twitter and Instagram.
Sorry, producer Liam knows everything. I know nothing. So they will be on there. You'll have to go and vote, and we'll see whose team turns out, who you think team would win a 3-on-3 tournament.
Too bad we can't simulate it somehow.
Well, we could with video games if we ever came back. If you come back with it, we will make our teams. We will set them up, and we will have it simulate 3-on-3. I think we could simulate 3-on-3. Yeah. If not, we'll do a full 5-team draft, 5 players, and we'll have them battle it out in a small mini tournament.
We could do that.
Yeah, that would be actually really interesting.
All still under 6'3".
Yeah, I think that would be good.
Sweet.
Okay, so we would like to thank Jeremy for being our guest today. It was wonderful having him here, and we hope to have you back in the future and share your story. Awesome. Thank you so much.